If your welds are coming out crooked like this, stay tuned. I'll give you a couple of tips on how to keep them a lot straighter. Now, tip number 1 is fast and easy, but it's not as effective as tip number 2. So when you're first beginning to learn how to weld and you're just welding some beads on a piece of plate similar to this, it can be hard to keep your beads straight. They may get crooked. Here's a quick tip on how to keep them straighter. So get yourself a square or a straight edge of some sort. Also get a soapstone or a blue streak, is my favorite. Draw yourself a line that's straight, and that will help keep your beads straighter.
Now, one thing to think about when you're welding, the most important thing that you need to be looking at is the very outside edge of the weld. That would be your toe of your weld. That's what you're going to use to follow that line, is the very outside edge of your weld.
So, with this weld that I just made, this will help get you out of a bind having a straight edge and just marking it with the soapstone. Now, with this one here, I was having trouble towards the end seeing my line. So that's the one faulty about just doing that. But that will get you out of a bind if you're in a hurry and need to get a weld done. The second way that I'm going to show you is a lot easier for you to see. Now here's tip number 2. We're still going to use a straight edge or a square. We're still going to draw us a line that is straight. But here's where it changes. Now what we're going to do that's different is we're going to grab our grinder with our cutoff wheel, and we're actually going to cut down that line just a little bit, just enough to where when we're welding we can see that line a little bit better this time. Now that we got our line, we can go ahead and start welding. When I'm welding, I don't like to follow the center of the line with my weld. I like to follow the edge, the toe of my weld. That's how I like to keep it straight.
So what I was saying is I like to follow the line with the toe of my weld. You can see that as I'm doing that. We know we have a straight line. All we need to do is follow that, and that's going to make our weld nice and straight.
So typically you only need to do this one time if you're welding on a piece of plate that you're doing multiple beads with, because now that we got a straight one, now I can follow the toe of this weld in order to keep the weld that I'm going to do next straight, just like this. So now we can see the difference. Here we have no line. Here we have just a line, and it's not bad. Towards the end, you start losing your line a little bit, but then here's this one, the one with the line with the cutting wheel that you grind down just a little bit. Look how much straighter that is. So these are some really easy steps to take when you're first beginning to weld to keep your weld straight. Remember, a consistent weld is a good weld. So try these couple of steps out. Until your weld cools, keep it hot.